a Pantry Studio production.
The following may contain strong language and deals with adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will be the last to fall. I won't shed a tear for them to see. And I won't have your name to call. 'Cause I will be the last to fall.
With over 24% of the 1.9 billion square acres in America alone, the mountains that so many people call home are also host to some of the most incredible mysteries in the world. The missing, the murdered, strange creatures, unexplained lights, and sightings of unidentified objects. These stories may be strange, they may be sad, they may be odd, but they are mysterious. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. And now, live from the Pantry Studio, broadcast to all time zones around the world, with listeners of the podcast in the United States, Canada, Germany, Norway, India, the United Kingdom, and more. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. Now, your host, Chris Sloan.
Have you ever had a Monday on a Thursday? That's exactly what's happening today. No kidding. The last 2 days have been Mondays. By hell, I've paid for Monday off. I've told you. Good evening. I'm Chris Sloan, your host, as it says over there. We've had some technical difficulties, so as it looks like right now, I'm not going to be able to have Sharron or Stacia on this evening, but we're going to fix those. I don't care if I've got to get them laptops myself. This thing does not seem to like mobile devices. Now, maybe you're thinking that's something that I should have realized, and maybe you're right. But my tech advisor and I, neither one of us were sure. And to be honest with you, I really didn't have him look into it any further. I thought, well, it'll probably work. I don't see why not. But it didn't. So apparently it only likes laptops or desktops, and it has a thing for Windows because Stacy sent me a picture of it, and it clearly said that Safari does not support this application. Steve Jobs would roll over right now if he saw that. He'd go crazy and be all over them like a pissant on a popsicle stick at Apple. He would be all over them. Why doesn't it work? You know what? That's okay, though, because tonight we've got a lot of things to discuss. But, man, I've got to tell you about an experience that happened last night. I'm looking over here in the chat right now to see if Stacy is in here yet. I'm not really sure. But Sharron is, and she can tell you exactly what happened. But we're going to get into that here in a few minutes. First off, I want to thank all of our Patreon subscribers. You guys are fantastic. It would be really difficult to do this without you guys. You helped offset the cost so much. You can listen to the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. There's 3 different things going on here. We've got the Mountain Mysteries podcast, which is on Spotify, Apple, Audible, Stitcher, Google Podcast, and practically everywhere that podcasts are found. Then we've got this. This is the Gatherings. This is where we all kind of come and get together every Thursday night at 8 o'clock and talk about an episode that just aired or just dropped last Friday. And then we talk about the one that's dropping Friday coming, which is, of course, tonight at midnight or just a little bit thereafter. And then, of course, tonight we've got a special thing for you. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of 2 different episodes. Those are going to be episodes 13, which is Dudley Town, Connecticut. It's also called The Village of the Damned. And then we're also going to give you a sneak peek of episode 14, which is The Mountain Mystery of Arn Johnson. Now, the name of that particular case is Murder Comes to Town, or I should say episode, I'm sorry. But The Conjuring 3 is actually based off of that case. That movie releases in America tomorrow. Matter of fact, it's going to be available for streaming on HBO Max and a few other places. I think they're going to have it on there for about a month. So that is really going to be something that you're going to want to hear. Also, we've got little pieces of Ed and Lorraine Warren, may they rest in peace, on that particular episode in which they're talking about this case. And they're talking about some of the things that Arn Johnson went through. And it's all because of a challenge. We're going to get into that here in just a few minutes. There's some things that you don't do. And when you hear that particular episode, you're going to realize challenging a demon is never a good thing. Challenging an entity is never a good thing. And you got to be really careful with that stuff. I've learned that much. The devil will never show up at your door as something that you don't want. It will show up at your door as everything that you pray for, as everything that you want. And then when you let it in, bad times. But we're going to talk about that. So here's what we've got going on, and this is so awesome. All right. I am tickled pink to announce the first sale that we've got coming up with the Mountain Mysteries podcast, and it's a sale on the clothing and accessories and stuff. And guess what we have done here? Boom. Okay, so I'm going to actually, I know some of you saw this last week. If you didn't, it's really easy to get to. This right here is the navigation menu. It's the bar. Now up here, of course, if you would like to subscribe to Patreon, you would, and I'm getting ready to give you another special announcement for our Patreon subscribers and for people who may become a Patreon subscriber. Right here, of course, is where you can download the episode, subscribe to it on your mobile device, your laptop, Alexa. This is Apple Podcasts. This is Spotify. Now, I've been watching this really close since March 5th. When the episodes are automatically done, uploaded in the can, scheduled for release each Friday morning at 12:01 a.m. Now, why 12:01? It's the first minute into Friday. I want to get them out there as quick as I can. And there's something about logistics and analytics that Arrow and Allie or Cody both said this is a good way to do this because you want consistency. That made sense to me. When you start dropping words like analytics and logistics, little ball, high weeds, I'm lost. No idea. But when they say this is consistency, your listeners get used to it, your numbers go up, and sure enough, well, what do you know? They have. Okay. So anyways, Spotify picks this up and publishes it quicker than any other medium that I've found yet, whether it's Apple, whether it's Audible, whoever. But Spotify is like all over this right now. And they get it. And normally you got it on your phone within about 5 minutes. I understand that there's latency, so to speak, that there's a drawback in time for how quick they can get them published. But last Friday night, I know that Spotify had episode 12, Octavia Hatcher, on about 35 minutes before Apple Podcast. Now, I'm not knocking Apple Podcast. I think they're great. As you can see here, I've got an iPhone. Okay. I would not be opposed to having, I've got an iPad. I would not be opposed to having Apple laptop. I forget right off the top of my head what they're called, but I would not be opposed to having one of those if they weren't so darned expensive. But I just cannot see dropping that kind of money on that because the creativity I do is in the studio, and I had a machine custom built for this very kind of thing right here. The podcasting, audio production, audiobooks, and all that stuff. So anyways, long story short, of course, this is our Facebook page where you can like and follow us on there. Get a lot of information there. It's really cool. But guess who gets it first? Right here. Patreon folks get this stuff first. Now, this is our YouTube channel. And of course, this right here is the Instagram thing that we've got going on. I try to keep that thing updated, but really, my daughter and son-in-law do so much better at it. So when it comes to what's coming up, the sale is going to start June 11th and run through the 25th. 10% off of everything store-wide. And if we go over there and you take a look, you can shop. The main logo is the main logo. They're not very expensive at all. We'll look. Stay Mysterious. That's the premium. Because not only do you have the logo on the front, you also have Stay Mysterious on the back, which has become our tagline. You also have the Haunted Doll. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet or not. A lot of you have. A lot of you commented. Some people have bought it. I have went on to our website and purchased it at the same price you do yourself. Okay. But let's check this out. This is the Haunted Doll stuff. Okay, so if let's take a look at let's just say the T-shirt right here. Okay, check this thing out. We're going to zoom in on it a little bit and zoom in on it even some more. If anybody has seen the movie Annabelle, she left, or The Conjuring 2, or maybe it was Conjuring 2, maybe. No, I'm sorry, The Conjuring, the original. At the beginning of the movie, you see these little cards all over the place in the apartment, and this is actually based on real stuff. Miss me? Now, when Arrow designed this thing, if you'll look, there's like a little, we'll just call it an evil hand, and she's looking at it and she's smiling like she's up to no good. And guess whose microphone that is? Yeah. I told him, thanks. I will not go back in that studio for a good 3 months. He said, well, you have to. You got to do these podcasts and you got to do these gatherings and you got to do the blurs. I said, great. Now I'm going to have to buy another microphone because that thing scares the hell out of me. So, anyways, these are available now. And of course, you can get them in any number of colors that you can possibly imagine. It's absolutely crazy. And when you go to do that, you can pick a color, black, white. Let's say that you wanted one in white. There it is. Or you wanted one in sport gray. There it is. And of course, then you just go down through there and select your sizes. And we got them up to 3XL. And you add to cart and you check out. It's that simple. Now, the price on that particular one is $15. Not too bad, right? I didn't think so. And we've got those, and you can also get them out. I don't know about, there's people out there, I guess, that would pack it in a backpack with Annabelle on the back, but I do. Yeah, I'm not. I just don't see the T-shirt's fine, but the backpack, I'm not really a backpack guy. But there's several designs in this that are available right now, and this is all on the mountainmysteriespodcast.com. And of course, we have got this is something that he just added, beachwear. Check this stuff out. Okay, you've got like the bikini, the beach towel, the tank tops. So if you're planning on going on vacation, and these things are priced decently, I suppose. I've actually never bought. Well, when my daughter was young, I bought her a bathing suit, but these are, uh, you know, they seem like a decent price to me. And this was something else too. On the back of some of the tank tops, you get the Stay Mysterious. It just depends on what you want. So if you look, there's a slight price difference, but this is a premium edition. All right. It's got the tagline on it and all that stuff. So anyways, the sale is 10% off. It starts June 11th, runs through the 25th. And yes, we do have a ton of other stuff on there too that you can see, including one of my favorites. And I've got to tell you guys about this. This is just, I think it's awesome. We go shop and we go main logo. Okay. I love these coffee cups. I actually ordered one the other night, or you can hot tea, whatever. Thing with this one is this is the Glossy Magic mug. Let me throw out there, it is not microwave friendly. You can't use it in a microwave because what happens is when you get the cup, it's kind of a solid color. And then when you fill it up with, let's say, a coffee or hot tea, that color dissolves and you see this. So, I mean, it's just super cool. And of course, we got the water bottles and all that stuff too. So, I mean, you can actually go on there if you would like to and check all that stuff out for yourself. There's a ton of things in there. I do appreciate the site, and I'm sure that Allie and Arrow appreciate that too. They done everything on this site. The only thing I do is talk about it. And of course, I look at it every day. We check the analytics on it. It's getting hits from all over the world. Where people are listening to this podcast is where it's getting hits. And yes, we do have the windbreakers on there now, and they're made by Champion. So these things are absolutely awesome. It's the mountainmysteriespodcast.com. Click on shop or get a hold of me if you'd like something that I don't have. I'll make sure that I'll do everything I can to get it. And something else that we got now too. And I actually ordered this the other night, and I've got to go back here and get your guys' opinion on this, if you don't mind. Okay. See, there's the sweats. We got the sweatpants, and they're unisex. They can be, guy or gal can wear them. And for the babies, I'm actually getting ready to buy one of these for a friend of mine who's going to have a child soon. She's going to be like, really? And I went, shameless self-promotion. Got the crop hoodies. You got socks. You've got all this, a notebook, iPhone cases. We've got all of this stuff, Right there is the water bottles that we were telling you about. These things are very high quality, and between June 11th and 25th, you're going to get 10% off that. Now, one of the things that we were talking about earlier also was, yeah, that's a Mountain Mysteries throw blanket. But we got the ball caps done, and we want to talk about, let me get back there. I want to talk about the embroidery because, man, this stuff it's just awesome. We've got embroidery things now, if I can find them. Yeah, okay. So this is, I actually bought one of these the other night. It's not been delivered yet. First off, this is embroidered. This we've had several people ask us about windbreakers and things. Tony was one of them. So here's what the windbreakers look like if you've not seen them yet. This is in black, and if you notice, they are embroidered. It's got the Mountain Mysteries logo. I'm actually getting myself one of these, and you can see right there, it's made by Champion. These are not cheap made stuff. This is good stuff because I'm not going to sell cheap things and have our name on them. Okay. If you want that, then, you can go somewhere else. Now, a lot of people think, well, that thing's got to be higher than a cat's back. $45 for something that's going to last you years, keep the rain off you. It's also rain resistant, wind resistant. And then, of course, we've got, and this was the thing that I ordered the other night. We've got, here we got, no, I have no idea who this cat is, but the Mountain Mysteries embroidered caps. And depending upon which one you get, on the back right there above, right, it says Stay Mysterious. So we've got that going on too with that. And those things, they'd make a great Dad's Day gift. What is Dad's Day? It's in June, right? So we've got a lot of things that we've really been working on. I really appreciate you bearing with me and taking the time to listen to my spiel about all this stuff because I'm excited about it. These caps I know elsewhere, some places that you go, okay, I know I paid, I think it was $36 for a Harley Davidson hat. But, when I was sitting outside and Arrow came outside, he said, what do you want the markup on these to be? I said, I don't want it to be much because the thing for me isn't selling ball caps. It's not selling t-shirts. It's selling, or it's getting the name out there. So people can listen to these podcasts and they can learn more about April. They can learn more about Dwayne. They can learn more about what it is that we're doing. And of course, yeah, we have some episodes that are kind of paranormal, like the ones coming up here very shortly with Dudley Town, for example, or as they call it, the Village of the Damned. I'm also getting messages now. Latricia Ferguson was at, and her husband, Marty, was at the Mountain Mysteries, or actually at the Celebration of Life for April and Tim. So they were kind enough to donate. And let me tell you what she does. And we are going to be using Ferguson Creations too. Number one, they're local. Number two, they're friends. Number three, I love them both. They're just great people and they do quality work. And here's the kicker. If I get something off kilt, I can call Trish or Marty and they're going to make it right. I know that. I can't call somebody in Oregon that does some of these stuff. And a lot of our products are made in America. Some are overseas. I get that. But I can call Trish and say, hey, this, whatever the issue is. And I know she'll make it right. I know they will. And I love doing business with local people. I really do. I think small business is the background or the backbone of the American economy. So with this being said, we were just talking about some of our episodes are a bit more leaning on the paranormal side, and that's okay. I've got no problem with that. Is this a paranormal podcast? No, it is a podcast where true crime meets paranormal. Now, sometimes this can be strictly true crime. Sometimes this can be paranormal. Thank you so much, Christy. Christy said that she uses her cup that she won every day, and she likes it. It's great. I'm glad to hear that. And I can tell you right now, as a promise to you, because anybody that listens to this podcast, not everybody that listens to the podcast checks out the gatherings. I get that. I want to change that. I want to create more quality content. I want to give you guys something to talk about. And I want to have a place where everybody can come in here, regardless of what your opinion is, as long as you're respectful. I'm not booting anybody just because they may have a different opinion. What about the shipping costs? Sharron asked. Shipping is added on, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think, because I checked out the other night and I spent over $200. But I got my brother some stuff, Mikey some stuff. I got myself some stuff, and I've got other things. But yeah, shipping is based on weight, if I'm not mistaken. And Arrow and I was actually talking, I think it was one day last week. We are going to combine it down to where shipping is included. Now, taxes are always going to be extra because depending upon what you get, the tax may be a little different. You're going to pay less tax on a $10 item than you will on a $45 item. But I am, we've got bomber jackets on there that are not very expensive. I think it's like $65. Now, it's a different kind of bomber jacket than I've ever seen, but that's what they called it. So I said, well, okay. And it's got the Mountain Mysteries logo engraved on it. Speaking of engraving, necklaces with a silver or gold pendant or gold plated pendant. And it's got the Mountain Mysteries. And on the back, we can actually have your name engraved on it, if I understood correctly. That's coming for a gift for a few people I know. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Bob's your uncle. Yeah. They look beautiful. They really do. And there's one name specifically I'm going to have engraved on one particular item. I think we all know who I'm talking about. But I think that they're beautiful. So Arrow has took this thing and ran with it. And, when people say, well, this thing is growing by leaps and bounds, because you can see the analytics each month, Apple or whomever comes out with these things. And when the first episode debuted March 5th, 2021, it was solid. It was pretty good. But what we've noticed is bam, each month, bam, 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 bam. I was looking on the analytics today. Like I said, Malaysia, where was it? Lord of the Rings was filmed. You'd think I'd know this. Anybody out there can help me? Where was Lord of the Rings filmed? That would be a great trivia question, wouldn't it? But we've got people down there listening now, and it'll hit me here in a few minutes. It's not Greenland. We've got people in Greenland listening, but I can't exactly remember where the thing was filmed at. Now, I wish somebody would jump in the chat and just say, put me out of my misery and end it. But it's a beautiful country, but we've got people down there listening now. But the people that hear about the website through the podcast are checking it out. They're like, okay, we'll check this out. And so far, most people really love it. I've not heard anything in the line of negative comments so far. And I'm very grateful and very thankful for that. But I think that they have done an outstanding job, and I'm very blessed with that. So as we were talking, some of our episodes are paranormal. I am not the person I go to if somebody calls me saying, hey, can you come? And, I'm having issues with what I think is a haunting or something like that. People I call are Stacia and Sharron. They are 606 Paranormal. They have a Facebook page. I'd really appreciate it if you would like it and share it. I know for a fact Stacia has gone a lot of different places and helped a lot of different people. And ask me how much that person has charged them, people. Nothing. I will never charge a family to come to them, do an interview to them, put it on the podcast, create a new episode, and get word out there about it. That's not what we're about. We are about the people who lost their lives and the families left behind. It was 6 months after April died, and I remember this so distinctly on episode 1. Sharron said it was about 6 months after April had passed that she had an encounter with April. Whether or not you believe that, I personally do. Because let me tell you, and we're going to get into this by the end of the episode, what happened to me last night sent me reeling, and I heard it with my own ears. There is no denying it. 3 different voices. We'll get into that in a minute. What I'd like to do first, though, now that we've explained what the Mountain Mysteries is, a little more better for maybe our new people that are coming in and listening to this. On Apple Podcast, they said it's where true crime meets the paranormal. Yeah, that's a pretty good point. I think that sums it up really nicely in a very short statement. But there's also something else here. Some of these can be about the paranormal because it is mysterious. And like I've always said, Connecticut does have some mountains, of course, but and so does, well, the next two sneak peeks that you're getting ready to get both took place in Connecticut. One was in Dudleytown. That's our first one. This was called the Village of the Damned. Now, when I first started researching this, the first thing I saw was Christopher Reeve. For those of you who don't know, he was and always will be the Superman of my generation. He made you believe a man could fly. But he was a talented and a gifted actor. He was very diverse in his roles. So he starred in a movie called The Village of the Damned, and the poster for it was downright creepy. But the real Village of the Damned is in Dudleytown, Connecticut. I thought it was Pennsylvania. I was wrong. It's in Dudleytown, Connecticut. And, well, I'll tell you what, as a part of any kind of thing like this, I don't go in with a mindset that I'm going to debunk. I'm going to throw this out into the river. It's just not true. I have an open mind. Could it be haunted? Yes. Is it haunted? Don't know. Could be water pipes slapping up against the wall. Because a pipe came loose somewhere. Could be a house settling. Could be any number of things. But then again, it also could be somebody somewhere who's passed on from this life is trying to get your attention. This is a sneak peek of the episode that is going to be released at midnight tonight. Then we're going to have an episode concerning Arn Johnson, who was the guy behind the Devil Made Me Do It case in Connecticut. Okay, but first, this is about Dudleytown. And we actually go into this a little bit and explain, well, we present the facts of what other people said and verified them. So is everything we run across haunted? Maybe not, but it sure does make for a creepy story. A Pantry Studio production. The following may contain strong language and deals with adult themes. Listener discretion is advised. Are you scared of the dark? Well, to be honest, the dark would be the least of your concerns when it comes to what we're about to share with you. It was almost like any number of small towns across the USA that you might have seen back when it was thriving. All except for one thing. A curse. A curse that legend says dates back to the 1500s, or so the story goes. And it's made the local population want to stray as far away from the place as they can. Some consider this to be the evilest place on Earth, and many paranormal investigators have left this place in a dead-out sprint. Located in northwestern Connecticut within the town of Cornwall, many unexplained events, mysterious disappearances, and ghost sightings have all been reported in what used to be a small town, which is now completely abandoned. According to local legend, the founders were descended from Edmund Dudley, an English nobleman who was beheaded for treason during the reign of Henry VII. And from that moment on, the Dudley family was placed under a curse which followed them across the Atlantic to America. And it only gets more mysterious from here. These are the Mountain Mysteries, and this is Episode 13, The Mountain Mystery of Dudleytown, Connecticut, the Village of the Damned.
I will be the last to fall. I won't shed a tear for them to see. I won't have your name to call, 'cause I will be the last to fall.
There are over 1.9 billion square acres in the United States alone, and 24% of those are mountainous. The secrets that these regions hold are enormous. Reports of mysterious creatures, strange sightings and sounds, ghosts and murders, and those who have seemingly vanished. They are questions that need asking and answers worth finding. These are the mountain mysteries. Here's Chris Sloan.
So there's a lot of theories behind this curse and why this is called the Village of the Damned. Dr. John F. Leach, a resident of the Dark Entry Forest since 1952, claims that in his almost 50 years of experience in and around Dudleytown, that there was absolutely nothing odd or paranormal about the place. He said that he and his wife had been spending summers there since 1952, and that there were approximately 50 shareholders in the Dark Entry Forest Association and about 20 homes, and none of them had ever seen anything strange or supernatural. Reverend Gary Dudley, the Dudley family genealogist, believes that there is no family connection between Joseph Dudley of Saybrook, Connecticut, and the cursed Edmund Dudley. Edmund Dudley's son, Robert, Earl of Leicester, had 2 sons, and one was illegitimate, Reverend Dudley said. The legitimate son of Robert died too young to marry, and the other moved to Italy, where he and his 3 children remained. There is no lineage between Robert and the Dudleys, who eventually settled in Cornwall. Reverend Dudley believes that Dudleytown's, quote, ghosts, end quote, may have been the work of human error. The town produced a little flax and some rye, which is interesting because if the rye is left to decay, well, what's left over is a mold, and that mold has been proven to be an hallucinogen. Now, this makes a lot of people wonder if the demons were the result of bad bread as opposed to actually being the devil's work. Reverend Dudley said that Dudleytown became a town that was just trying to survive as opposed to grow and thrive. Ed Warren, noted demonologist of Ed and Lorraine Warren, believes Dudleytown was definitely cursed. He said the Dudleys had an ancestor in England who was a judge and condemned many people to death for witchcraft. Okay, so that was some of the quote-unquote debunking. I jumped straight out of our intro, probably by about 15, 20 minutes to go into what they were saying was, well, this is not true, debunking. But what's in between there is some really compelling evidence that, yeah, there is something going on there. So the guy that lives there, or one of the families that actually live there, who is a member of the Dark Forest Entry Association, whatever, said, no, this place isn't haunted. Well, of course. This is my first thought. Okay, I live at 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville. We just bought that place for $80,000. A $225,000 home. Things amazing. It's beautiful. Hardwood floors and windows upstairs are a little creepy, but anyways, we bought it. Great deal on it. Come home one evening, walk in. Oh, baby, I love what you've done with this place. Look at the new wallpaper, the new paint, how you've cleaned the windows and painted the trim around the windows, waxed the floors. Get out. Too bad I can't stay, baby. Anytime you got something like that, the property values are going to drop. You think they don't know that? I mean, it's a thought. So when you listen to this episode tonight or tomorrow or whenever you do, maybe this weekend, keep in mind that there's arguments for both sides. Now, is it actually haunted? I could not tell you. Ed and Lorraine, and this was something too that always got me about Ed and Lorraine Warren. There were so many people saying, well, they're scammers, they're this, they're that. They never bring up all the times that Ed and Lorraine debunked something. There was more debunking than there was confirmation. They actually show some of that. And I think it's the first Conjuring film, maybe the second. But Ed actually goes into this house, and it's documented. And Lorraine's there too. And they say, okay, well, what you got here? And he explains why the water pipe is banging up against the wall. And of course, that would scare the daylights out of somebody. I get that. But they did that too. Difference is they kept an open mind. And I think that in order to live a full life, you got to keep an open mind about things. Don't be so closed-minded. Spirits can't exist. Well, then I guess every religion in the world is wrong. You know, Catholicism, Christianity, you know, so many religions, they're based on, you know, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And the Bible even, you know, says, you know, the Bible even tells us, do not go and seek these things out. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can get hurt. You can get hurt really, really bad. Before I would go on any investigation, I'm going to make sure I've got somebody with me that knows what to do, because there are precautions you take. That's why I'd have no problem going with Stacia. I'd have no problem going with Sharron. They have been doing this far longer than I have, and they have collected remarkable evidence. Because when you walk into somebody's backyard, it's kind of like texting somebody on the internet. And how many times has this happened? Age, sex, location. Remember those from the AOL days? ASL. Oh, I'm a 16-year-old guy. I live in, I'm just going to throw up and say El Paso, Texas. And I'm single. It turns out to be this guy is talking to a 15-year-old girl, and he is actually 46, married with 2 kids. That is a great analogy when I think about messing with something you know nothing about. Don't do it. Otherwise, could wind up like Arn Johnson around 1980. This was a first in a lot of cases, and you're going to hear this on this next preview coming up. By all accounts, Arn was a super nice, super laid-back kind of guy, a hard worker. He would get home. He was in the landscaping business. He would get home sometime around 5:30 in the evening, have him some supper, have him something to eat, and then he'd go to bed. And the reason why is he was living with his fiancée and her parents. You've probably seen this on an episode of The Haunting, or A Haunting, I'm sorry. Well, anyways, they were renting a house, or they had just purchased, or they had just rented a house and were in the process of cleaning it up and doing some minor repair work and renovations, you know, as we also often do. And Debbie's younger brother, Debbie was Arn's fiance, her younger brother named David went into the bedroom. And in the bedroom, he saw an older guy dressed in plaid and blue jeans. And anyways, this is what The Conjuring 3 is based on. Now, for the Mountain Mysteries, it's called Murder Comes to Town. The reason why was, well, take a listen for yourself. A Pantry Studio production. The following may contain strong language and deals with adult themes. Listener discretion is advised. The cases they've worked on have captivated people in practically every corner of the world and inspired made-for-TV films and now cinematic blockbusters. The Conjuring universe has been based on their cases from the Barrens to the Hodgson family in Enfield, London, England. You've heard of that. It's the Enfield poltergeist? Yes, that one. And now, The third in the series will take its roots in Connecticut. It, too, is alleged to be based on real events. There's around 18,000 people that call it home, and it seems quiet and peaceful for the most part, the kind of place that most people would be happy to call home and maybe raise a family. The last 12 years or so, there's been a virtual non-existence of murder. Not a lot of places with that many people living within its city limits can claim that. That is something that makes this episode so intriguing. Well, that among other things. You see, this was a first in a lot of regards. The first time that a defense was used in an American court system that claimed that the defendant was not guilty because the devil made him do it. Also, the first time a murder had ever occurred in the small and quiet community of Brookfield, Connecticut. Yes, it was their first murder in the history of that town. And it said that it all began with a challenge. A challenge of a young man who had cursed demonic entities to take him on, instead of his fiance's younger brother, whom, it was said, was in the midst of becoming demonically possessed himself. Now, there's so much to this story that books have been written about it. And maybe some of them should have been published under the fictional genre because this is hard to believe, but many say that this tale is true. There's been television films about it. It even appeared on an episode of A Haunting. And now, the story will appear as the latest film in the Conjuring cinematic universe that was released June 4th, 2021, entitled The Conjuring 3. The Devil Made Me Do It. These are the Mountain Mysteries. And this is episode 14, Murder Comes to Town. The Mountain Mystery of Arn Cheyenne Johnson.
I will be the last to fall. I won't shed a tear for them to see. I won't have your name to call, 'cause I will be the last to fall.
There are over 1.9 billion square acres in the United States alone, and 24% of those are mountainous. The secrets that these regions hold are enormous. Reports of mysterious creatures, strange sightings and sounds, ghosts and murders, and those who have seemingly vanished. They are questions that need asking and answers worth finding. These are the Mountain Mysteries. Here's Chris Sloan.
Before we get started, I'd like to thank Stacia Underwood Gullett, who was already a Patreon member and has been for some time, but she recently increased her pledge, helping us cover even more of the expenses that the Mountain Mysteries podcast and the gatherings throw at us. Stacia, I cannot begin to thank you enough. And by the way, Stacia is also the lead investigator for 606 Paranormal. Here we go. It was in the summer of 1980 when our story begins. An 11-year-old boy, David Glatzel, who was by all accounts mild-natured, sweet, and kind, was helping his older sister Debbie and her boyfriend Arnie Johnson fix up a house they had just rented. Well, shortly after they moved in, David began to see a mysterious ghost man who frightened him beyond any words. Well, eventually, the ghost man transformed into something more menacing. At night, he became a demonic monster that threatened to steal David's very soul. Lorraine and Ed Warren explained how the events unfolded that day and into those evening hours during a television program conducted as they discussed the events of this unique case.
As David went to get up off the bed, he described this man as appearing. He could see everything about the man, the plaid shirt that he was wearing, the jeans that he had on. Could see everything about him. He could describe everything about him.
That's just a taste of it, of course. Now, that's going to be released on, well, it's not this Friday. It's Friday after next. I think that's the 11th. Don't let me do that. Yeah, it is. And by the way, what you just heard right there, episodes 4 and 5, and from there on out, they're all in, as you see up there in the corner, stereo. So we're really excited to be able to bring you that after I figured out how to actually do it and do it correctly. Everything for me is a learning process. It takes me 2 hours to watch 60 minutes. But when I get it down, I get it down as a rule. And so with that being said, Patreon members will get them Tuesday. Our Patreon members got episode 13 Tuesday at midnight, and it drops on Patreon pretty quick because I'm scheduling it directly to and through Patreon on the website there. So that is really pretty cool. But I'd like to ask for people's opinion, like on episode 12. Do you think that Octavia was actually buried alive? I mean, I think it's entirely possible. Yeah, everybody loves Lorraine. She was just, Sharron had a good word for her last night, dainty, but yet she had a quiet strength. I was honored to be able to talk with her back when I did. I wish I had gotten to speak with Ed, but he passed away, and I think that was 06. But by all accounts, he was actually great. So, I mean, I don't. So, this was the part where I was really going to involve Sharron and Stacia really hard. I really wish that we could have had them tonight. So, we're going to figure out whatever this is and get them in there. Her frailty and strength was impeccable. Yes, she was a class act. Lorraine was class, and I think that it was too. I'm going to share with you, and this would be so much better if I had Stacy and Sharron on here with me right now. Stacy got this thing, a device for paranormal investigators. And speaking of which, let me back up here and say something. When I said, talking about don't go, I think that God puts people with gifts. Somebody like me would never go out and attempt an investigation because I don't know what I'm doing. I'd get myself in trouble is what I'd do. Or somebody I'm trying to help get them in worse trouble. I don't know nothing about it, so I stay away from it. But I do believe with all of my heart and soul, Stacy, Sharron, these people have gifts. They don't rush in swinging, oh, it's haunted. No, that's not what happens. It's not what happens at all. I've been there when she's done this. Stacy is very quiet and reserved, and she's very attentive, and so is Sharron. Sharron, if I've ever seen anybody that was empathic, then yeah, she just picks up on stuff. And I don't know that it's feelings that she gets is how she wants to describe it to me. But I do think that there are people that have gifts, and those are gifts from God, and what we do with them are gifts back to God. Mine happens to be flapping my gums, running my mouth. And I'm okay with that, especially if it helps somebody. If it helps somebody by bringing an episode to light or just by talking to somebody, I'm okay with any of those things. So anyways, this device is called a portal. And I had messaged them last night with the intent of actually testing stuff before tonight. And as does happen sometimes, you get sidetracked. Everybody can relate to that. She told me about this device, the portal. So what's it do? She said, oh, well, you can hear things. This is where she would really be so much better if she was on here. She said, well, you can hear, if there's someone there trying to communicate with you, a lot of times you can hear it. You may have to make it out and try to work with it, but the first voice I heard, I recognized off the bat. Granted, this was over an internet connection. We were on Facebook, Messenger, video, whatever that thing. And it was April. I honestly believe that with all of my heart because I knew April's voice. The next two I heard, I knew their voices too. I grew up with them all my life. I heard the female start speaking. And I'm telling you, and I'm testifying to this right now in public, if it wasn't my mother, it was spot on. If you're reading the chat, the story behind what 606 Paranormal just posted. Stace had asked her if there was anything that she wanted to say. And she said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy. She said, Chris is my star because I didn't want it to be forgotten. I didn't want her to be forgotten. That's what I'm after with this whole thing. I don't, if it's April, if it's Tim, if it's Dwayne, I don't want them to be forgotten. Nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves to be murdered. You know, you can be mad at somebody all day long, but it takes a special breed to murder somebody in cold blood. Not in defense of yourself or your family. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about because you're jealous, because you're pissy, because of whatever reason, you go out and decide that you're going to take somebody's life. There is no excuse for that. Now, I've been mad enough before to where I thought I could kill somebody. But I never did it. And gratefully, I've obviously never had it happen to me. But let me tell you something. I believe with all my heart that every soul, every human being that walks this earth, it's like tossing a pebble in a pond. You've seen them ripple. It touches everything. I believe that. So when they took April, when they killed Tim, Dwayne, Mamie Thurman, Meryl Baldridge, they robbed the whole world of what these people could have done. They took what could have been and turned it into what might have been and never will be. Let's think about this for a second. April was 16 when she died. Yet to graduate high school. Yet to have a career. Yet to have children. Yet to have a career. Who else could she have helped? You know, and I'm not going to mention names, but somebody that she was very close to is in the medical field now, saving lives. And this individual had said she was the reason why. 30 years she's been gone, and she's still helping people through him. 30 years. I don't need a damn paradigm shift here to figure out what else she could have done. Or what about Tim? I'm telling you right now, Tim Stambo was the kind of guy that would take his shirt off his back and give it to you in the pouring rain while he changed the tire on your vehicle. That was just who Tim was. While I did not personally know Dwayne, I kind of feel like I did because of the episode we did on him, 7, A Lake of Tears. A guy that gets bucked off of a Shetland pony or rides a tricycle, and he was like 5'10", 5'11". You got to kind of just love this guy because he loved life. And he had friends. I've talked to some of his friends via chat. Meryl Baldridge had a personality like sunshine. Somebody killed her, left her laying under a damn bridge. Then there's Mamie Thurman, left her laying beside of a road in Holden, West Virginia, 22 Mile Road. Then we think about the 46 people on the Silver Bridge. You get where I'm going with this. This is what we're about. And I want to keep that going. Because if I can help one family, if I can help one person, it's all been worth it. That's why. Because when my parents died, that pain hit me, and let me tell you something, it was unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I pray to God I never experience it again. I know I'm gonna. A part of living is dying. And that's fine if God calls you home. That's perfectly fine. But when somebody else thinks that they've got the right, for any reason whatsoever, they've got the right to take your life, that is where the disagreement begins. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the 10, thou shalt not kill. And people wonder why the world's gone to hell in a handcart. The world ain't gone to hell in a handcart. Some of the people in it have. The world's the same. The planet's the same it's been from, I don't know, however old this planet is. The deadliest creature on this earth. You're looking at them right now. People. But it doesn't have to be that way. So yeah, that happened to me last night, and Stacy and Sharron can both, because we were in a video session on the Facebook thing, Messenger, whatever, and I was tore up from the floor up, about ready to lose it right now. But I heard he sounded just like my dad. Proud of our son. You don't know what that means until you don't have it. It was very emotional. Stacy just wrote, yeah, it was. You know, because all that time you go through and you're thinking, did I do it right? Am I doing right by him? Would they be proud? You know, if you've got your parents right now, call them, tell them you love them, tell them that you're proud to be their son or daughter. Just tell them how much you love them, because when you lose that chance, damn, it hurts. Well, I'm not going to wind up like the YouTube guy on crying about Britney Spears. So, anyways, I take comfort in that, at least, because I told them on a constant basis that I was proud to be their son and that I loved them. But I had a very unique relationship with my parents. They were my heroes. You know, when I was growing up, a lot of my friends, you know, they thought Superman or Batman and Spider-Man, whoever, Iron Man. Oh, those guys are the bomb. Man, my dad was the bomb. My mom, she was the glue that held it all together. The beautiful thing about it is she still is. I honestly believe that when we leave this life, we go on to the next one. There's so much more out there, and I've seen evidence of it firsthand. I heard it last night, saw it out there at Wolf Lake. We are going to be, and oh, by the way, thank you for New Zealand. Somebody, while I was playing the video, come in and said it was New Zealand, where the Lord of the Rings was filmed. Yeah, that's another place we picked up. It was something small, like 5 or 6 listeners, but that's how it starts to grow. So yes, New Zealand. That's where Lord of the Rings was filmed. That's Peter Jackson. I would actually love to visit that place. It's beautiful. Anyways, we are going to be doing a follow-up on April very soon. Of course, we're going to be talking about it. And good Lord, well, if I have to drag Sharron down here, put her in this little box in here herself, we are going to go live and talk about that, because, you know, Stacia and I talked about that. We have people saying, why don't you just let it go? It's been 30 years. I don't give a rat's how long it's been. I don't care because that 30 years is just like 5 minutes ago for Sharron. I lost my parents in 2019. It's just like it happened this morning. Anybody out there that's had loss, you know this. Most of the time I have discovered, though, that people that ask that question, and I don't get upset at the question anymore because I realize they haven't gone through it, so they can't understand it. And then I simply whisper a small prayer for them. Be there for them when they go through it if they have to. Please, God. Because I'm telling you right now, that's the only thing that pulled me through it. Praying. He was right, you know. Didn't say it'd always be easy, but he said he'd be right there with us. He has for me. And I probably, on my list of the people I would think don't deserve it, I'm right up there at the top of that. And I learned you don't judge somebody else because they sin differently than you do. I don't judge anybody. It's not my right. I make mistakes. All they got to do is walk a day in your shoes. Thank you, Sharron. That's right. But maybe along that way, you pick up new friends. You gain hope. Somebody on the podcast review was so sweet and kind to write that I was fighting the good fight. You guys are fighting the good fight. I am special effects. I'm a voice. I'm a storyteller. But I love every one of you. It's what this world needs more of, I think, sometimes. I think that right now, if Trevor was sitting here, he'd probably say, I used to think that your dad was the softest hard ass I'd ever met. But the older I get, what can I say? It happens. So we are going to do a follow-up. There's going to be 606 is actually going to conduct 606 Paranormal is going to conduct an investigation, and they've been kind enough to invite me to go along with them. Of course, now I'm part of their team, I suppose, and they're a part of the Mountain Mysteries. I've known Stacia for longer than we'll get into. Thank you very much. But I love her. I've loved her for years. We've always been close, when we see each other, and now, we've been brought back into each other's lives. And turns out I went to school with her husband, and they're just great people, and I'm just honored to be associated with them. And if somebody had told me when I was 17 years old or whatever it was, or 18, that April's mom and I would become as close of friends as we have. I mean, the woman has practically adopted me. Hell, she feeds me. I would have said, where do you get that at? Because if they had told me what would have happened to April, I'd have done anything I could have to been there that night to stop her. Sharron wouldn't have let her win anyway. And at least today, she, like I said, who knows what might have been. It's incredible when you really think about how precious and how short life can be. We're only here for a little while. And I really do hope and pray that we make the most of it. But sometimes, I had a friend today saying, look, you work a full-time job. You come home. You go back to work doing the podcast thing. Working this thing like everything counts on it. I said, no. I said, I'm working it like everything counts on me and praying about it like everything counts on God. I said, why? Maybe if you could have seen April. Or if you would remember being out cutting the grass and hearing this stereo come down the road with this brown GMC step-side truck and a guy in there waving his hand at you saying, hey, how you doing, man? That would have been Tim. I said, maybe if you'd known, then you'd know why. Some of these people I didn't know, I'll never know. I'll never meet them. Dwayne, Mamie, the 46 people on the Silver Bridge. Probably never meet Arn Johnson. probably never. I know I got lucky and interviewed Lorraine Warren, but I didn't speak to her face to face. That was recorded over a phone patch in my old studio back in the day. But man, talking to her for that little bit of time. Pebbles in the pond. Like I said, one life affects so many others. We have no idea. I've kept you on here way too long, but you know what? I love every one of you, and I appreciate you so much. Oh, by the way, before I forget, and I almost did, I'm sorry, I wander off on tangents sometimes. The sale on the Mountain Mystery Podcast.com starts June 11th. There's going to be a coupon on my personal Facebook and on the Mountain Mysteries Facebook, and that's good for 10% off of the total purchase. If you're a Patreon member, that coupon is going to be put up there a day early on the 10th, and you get 15% off. That's our way of saying thank you for supporting us. The sale in general, whether you're Patreon or not, take 10% off. I ask that you just wear the stuff. You'd be amazed at what kind of conversation starters they are. People will be like, what's the Mountain Mysteries? So it's a podcast. Where do I find it? About anywhere podcasts are found. What's it about? Well, the host is a little goofy, but it's about the people. It's about the people who were murdered, the people who have vanished, and nobody has an idea of where they're at. Something else I want to tell you too about the podcast. I'm sorry, the website. You can contact us on there. There's a contact form at the bottom. If you're struggling with something, if you don't know where else to turn, whether it's with the podcast or I'll get you in touch with Stacia or Sharron. If there's something going on that you can't explain, you can also write about it, a previous experience, and we'll put it on the blurs. Blurs are the short stories that are based in reality, that are something that you may not necessarily want everybody to know, like everybody in the world to know about this, or maybe it's just something you feel like you have to get, and you can remain anonymous. If you want it to be published as a blur on the Patreon website, all you got to do is say, here's my story. Just say Joe Black sent this in, or Jane Doe, or whomever. Be happy to do it. Be happy to do it. And yeah, expect me to communicate with you. Now, most of the time, and there's a good reason for this, everything goes through my daughter first. And the reason why is because she knows how to operate the thing. I'm still kind of like, I'm trying to figure out how the hell a Nintendo works. I mean, really, it took me like 10 minutes the other day to figure out how to get the calculator to go from plus to multiply. I'm human. But Allie or Arrow can do that stuff like they're not even, it's nothing to them. Like I said, everybody has gifts. So, well, with that being said, I think I've covered a lot of the stuff I wanted to cover tonight. And oh yeah, by the way, last night when all that was happening, I've got and I'm not going to aim the camera up there, but I've got track lighting in the studio, and they're LED and it's running full power, and they started flickering for no reason. I've never had a problem out of them. And last night they were flickering. There's 3 of them, but they were flickering like crazy when I was listening to this portal. And anyways, we're going to have Stacia and Sharron on at some point. I promise you. And I do so deeply apologize that I couldn't get them on tonight, but who would have thought that this thing would not support a mobile phone, smartphone? Yeah, I'm going to ask Patreon, or not Patreon, but I'm going to ask Restream about it too and see if there's, but I don't think it's on Restream's end. I just think that some of the operating systems for the phone don't like it. I mean, it is what it is, but like I said, I don't care if I have to get them or loan them, I don't care if I have to get new laptops. I want these two because some of the things that you'll experience, if you're not a believer, keep an open mind. Maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe not. That's okay. But I respect whatever your opinion is. But I'm telling you, last night blew my mind. And at the same token, it did me so much good. Sale begins June 11th through June 25th. hope that you'll like, subscribe, share this. This is The Gatherings. Share The Gatherings with your friends on Facebook. Share the podcast out there. Please give us a 5-star rating and write a nice review. That goes farther than you can possibly imagine. Those 5-star reviews kept people's attention. That's how we get the names of April Pennington, Dwayne Lovelace, Tim Stambo, Merrill Baldridge, and all these other people, Arn Johnson. That's how we get their names out there. People, when you get it in the front of your mind, and it was already buried back there in the back, but 30 years, life happens. That's why we did this. My original intent was to do maybe a couple on April, and that was it. But like my mother said, God bless her, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. Smarter than I ever knew. And pretty much right about everything, even though I didn't listen. Patreon. Go onto the website, themountainmysteriespodcast.com. Get that. You get the blurs. You also get early access. And just about every Patreon member from the $3 tier and up will be sending you little gifts on occasion, stuff like that. Maybe there's stickers, maybe shirts or the coffee mug, something like that. You can read more about it on the Patreon website. And but yeah, getting the early access. And every Sunday we drop a new blur. Coming up this Sunday, there's 3 in a row that we're dropping, and they're pretty creepy. But like I said, cheap thrill. So yeah, that's what those are. Guys, I can't tell you how much I thank you all for putting up with me for over an hour. I love you all. God bless you. And for Allie and Arrow and Stacia and Sharron and everybody that's a part of our Mountain Mysteries family, you all included. Love you all. May God bless you and stay mysterious.
From one coast to the other, mysteries are everywhere, and we will continue to pursue the answers to those questions and more. Please share, like, and rate the Mountain Mysteries podcast and tell your friends to tune in on Facebook or YouTube. The Mountain Mysteries gatherings are each Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to support the Mountain Mysteries search and help these families, join us on Patreon, or you can make a one-time donation as well. The Mountain Mysteries and the Mountain Mysteries gatherings are property of the Pantry Studios and Chris Sloan, who writes and produces the content. If you would like to reach out to the Mountain Mysteries, please email us at pantrystudio@yahoo.com. Until next time, my friends, stay mysterious.
Pantry Studio production.